being here this morning. In these issues that we are talking about, you have a major role to play. And this is one time when a holistic approach is very, very important, because we all have a role to play. And as was emphasized this morning, for us, this is just the beginning. So I should start the ball rolling by just giving you a brief overview of what we'll be doing for the next few days. This, as you all know, is the 4th conference of the African Union Ministers of Social Development. Well, it's a very unique occasion in that we have chosen this particular occasion to also launch this very, very, very important problem of a campaign against child marriage. The Conference of Ministers of Social Development started from the 26th with the experts meeting, and they looked mostly at several issues on social development. The first was consideration of the implementation of the African Union Plan of Action on the Family. The second major issue was children and social protection systems, building the African agenda. Thirdly, consideration of the implementation of the policy framework and plan of action on aging. And fourth, consideration of the implementation of the African Union Disability Architecture. Fifth, strategy to promote and protect the rights of children with disabilities of the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. Now, this will be followed by the ministerial meeting, which started this morning with the opening ceremony, and at the same time the launch of the continental campaign to end child marriage. And also there will be consideration of the report of the African Union Commission on the implementation of decisions that were made on the 3rd Conference of African Union Ministers of Social Development. This will be followed, maybe sometime tomorrow, by a ministerial panel discussion on children and social protection systems. Now, the campaign on child marriage is a vision of the chairperson of the African Union Commission. And this is noting the high prevalence rate of child marriage in Africa. We're talking about around the 40% range in West and Central Africa, and mid-30% range in Eastern and Southern Africa. So really, this is a very important problem. The launch initially will take 10 countries, and we hopefully would want to do those first 10 countries within the next 2 years, which is the initial phase of the campaign. And the 10 countries isolated are Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Chad, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Malawi, Mauritania, Niger, Sera Leon, and Zambia. How did we get to name these 10 countries? Well, first we looked at statistics, we looked at prevalence rates, and a few other issues like efforts these countries are already making in terms of trying to reduce the incidence of child marriage. The objectives of the campaign, first, is to accelerate the end of child marriage in Africa by enhancing continental awareness of the efforts of child marriage and by taking appropriate legal, social, and economic measures. Now, it ranges wider than that. We want to take it out to religious leaders out there, because the AU is using this bottom-up approach, right down to people at the community level. And this is where our partners become very important, because they have very significant presence at the community level. Yesterday, we had a town hall meeting, and for those of you who were lucky to be there, it was an eye-opener. We heard from victims, we had the experiences from most of our other partners, and I should say it went really very well. Now, we have a very strong contribution from partners in this campaign, and I would like to name in particular the Ford Foundation, the UNICEF, UNFPA, UNECA, Plan International, and the Canadian government, as well as Save the Children, Africa Child Policy Forum, DFID, among others. This support is at a continental and country level, each providing technical and financial support where it is appropriate. I would also like to inform you that the issue of social protection, as a follow-up to the EU experts consultation meeting on children and social protection that was held in Cape Town, South Africa last month. This Cape Town meeting on social protection had the key recommendations of the EU expert consultation on children and social protection, and 4 issues were discussed. The need for political commitment, a minimum social protection package, which you're all aware of, and several examples were made, in particular Ghana, Ethiopia, South Africa, Kenya, and a few others. Financing social protection programs, and ensuring national institutional mechanisms for social protection. Now, the ministerial panel that will take place later on in this conference will look at issues on child and social protection. And the panel will be composed of ministers of social development, randomly picked, who will be sharing their experiences and their wisdom with us. With these few briefing notes, I'll open the